But come to find out, it was not water coming in. It was sewage.
Hello, everyone. This is James Harper on this week's episode of the Real Estate Halftime Show. I have a very special guest, Johnny Harper, no relation to myself, who is here in the studio to talk about home inspections, why they're important, and everything you need to know, and maybe some funny, crazy stories. Stay tuned for the Real Estate Halftime Show, live coming at you now.
It's time for the Real Estate Halftime Show. Sit back, relax, and listen to Nashville's premier inside scoop to real estate with the Mortgage Extraordinaire himself, James Harper.
All right, welcome back to the Real Estate Halftime Show. We're at our secret headquarters here in Hendersonville, Tennessee. I'm James Harper, and my special guest is Johnny Harper. As I said, no relation to me. The J&J Show, the J Harper Show is coming at you right now. Welcome to the show, Johnny.
Thanks for having me.
And Johnny owns J&J Home Inspections and has owned this business for the last 10 years. Thought we'd bring him in to do a little deviation of the Real Estate Halftime Show and talk more about what really goes on to make that transaction go through between a buyer and seller as to the condition of the home. And so Johnny has a lot of experience in this field personally from how he actually started the company to begin with. And tell us a little bit about why you decided to open a home inspection company.
Well, to be honest with you, how I started was we bought a new home, roughly 2009. It was our first home ever. Didn't know anything about it. I worked on houses a little bit before that, but we inspected the house. We hired an inspector. Inspected it. A year later, I have water coming through the outlet of the house. And I'm like, what's going on? We pull out all the furniture.
And this is a new construction.
Brand new construction.
Brand new.
Yep. So when they found a lot of stuff, and then the builder said, hey, we fixed everything. And so we, accepted.
Took their word for it.
Yeah. And then we signed off and whatever like that. And then, that year later, we had water coming out of the outlet, and we're like, what's going on? So we called the inspector again, we got this problem, whatever. So he did the entire inspection and gave us the inspection report from the year later. They're identical. The builder never fixed a thing that they said they were going to do on the inspection report.
So there was no validation there during the process, and you were taking the builder's word for it that it was fixed.
Yeah, basically what we should have done is taken the home inspector after they said they fixed it, had them come back out and re-inspect. Then we would probably saved ourselves and everybody some time. But,
So you painfully went through this experience yourself, and you learned what from it?
To always get a second set of eyes, but also at the same time to make sure that everything is done that you asked to be done correctly. We just went off of good faith and went on about our lives.
So it wasn't that you didn't get a home inspection.
Right.
You just didn't have that extra step of the follow through or the follow up to validate that.
Right. And a lot of people do that. Like I would say just say if you had 1,000 home inspections, maybe 2 to 5 will actually get a re-inspection after we look at it to see that the work was actually done. It's not a normal occurrence.
Very good point. So you went through this experience painfully. And you said what? You woke up one day and said, what aha did you have?
So my wife and I I've worked on a house's handyman stuff here and there, and we were looking at businesses because we wanted to start our own business. We wanted to work for ourselves. We wanted to get out there and, get dirty, start our own business from scratch. And we looked for a couple months, and then we found out, the home inspections, we looked back at that and we're like, I could actually do that. I know the value that would bring, and I could actually, give that service to people, and I know I'd be good at it. And so we just went on from there.
And how did you want to make yourself different when you decided to do that? What did you feel was lacking in the industry or with some of the competition around you?
I would say we started off saying that I was careful and complete with the inspection. I feel like sometimes we'll see inspections and they're not complete. whether they miss some stuff or whether they go around and don't move furniture to check something, or they don't actually get on the roof when they could safely get on the roof. And I always thought there was a little bit of area that I could improve on myself and my company where I could kind of stand out from that and then, actually give someone a full report that they can be satisfied to call an inspection report.
Well, okay. So I'm a home buyer listening here on the show today. What's the difference between an inspection report and an appraisal report? Because that is definitely misunderstood. I know on my side in lending, I do have to kind of explain that to a lot of our borrowers sometimes. So what is the difference between an inspection report and an appraisal report? Because there are people that think that's one and the same.
So a home inspection is basically you're looking at all the readily accessible things to test, function, safety hazards, outside, inside, going in the crawl space, the attic, testing the HVAC, all that
Foundation.
stuff, plumbing. Yeah. And so we're looking at it from, is this safe to use? Is there defects? Is something going to happen? Can we see that there's a potential for someone to get hurt? An appraisal, they're coming in, they're looking at the tile work, the granite, the hardwood, the outside, the inside. Is it painted? Is it nice? And then they're measuring and they're comparing to other houses because they're comparing it to give you a value. We're looking at it from a safety standpoint. And what the appraiser will say, they'll say, hey, this and this needs to be fixed to get the loan through. Our job is not to do that. Our job is just to give them a report. We don't fail the house or pass the house. We just say, hey, this is what we found and this is what we recommend.
Good. So the appraisal determines the value. The inspection report really is a critique of what is potential problems, safety related or repair related, and is on behalf of the buyer.
Right.
Where an appraisal is a neutral third party report that's done on behalf of the lender for the transaction to determine valuation or determine value. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense, but there definitely is misunderstandings and misconceptions about an inspection report and an appraisal report. But the main thing to all the listeners is the inspection report will help identify potential risk, problems, hazards, safety, or repairs that may be needed throughout the course of purchasing this house. Some may be immediate that need to be addressed. Some of them may be more longer term. You agree with that?
Yeah, and of course, and I would say that the home inspection is not mandatory, but in the home appraisal, I know in your line of work, 99% of all loans have to have an appraisal.
Right.
So,
but we don't care about the inspection report because it's really to, for the buyer.
And then if they don't want to get an inspection, they don't have to. But at the same time,
but then they could have water coming out of their outlets a year from now.
Or in 2020 when, 50% of the people didn't get home inspections because they couldn't get a home inspection to get the house that they wanted. So I hope that doesn't bite them in the long run, 5 to 10 years when they go to sell it.
Yeah, because of COVID. Yeah. What do you feel like you would want everybody to know? We were talking just before the show, and you had mentioned about the follow-up from the report. When you do an initial report on a property for a potential buyer, they take that report, they do with it whatever they feel like they need to do with it, whether they're negotiating something with the seller to fix, or they're just saying, hey, I've read this, it all kind of feels good, smells good, I'm okay with it. But if there is something major to be done, what doesn't really happen as that follow-up that you're finding?
I would say after the initial inspection, a lot of the times we've never meet the client, or the realtor sets it up and says, here, go to the inspection, and we send the report and all of that stuff. There's no, I guess you would say, hand-holding. I would love for the buyer to be there to where I can say, hey, look at this, this, and this. This is a problem and a concern that I have for you in your house that you're buying. But the 90% of the other part of the report, this doesn't have to be, haggled during the transaction, you could actually take this and do this as your honey-do list. And what I see a lot of people is they get scared because if they get a 50-page report, they're all up in arms and they're like, I don't want the house. But if we don't get that contact to them and talk to them about it, I feel like that's kind of our responsibility. I feel like I need to tell them, this is all going to be okay. Just, I got a couple things that I'm concerned about that you need to look at before closing, but everything else is okay.
So is there a priority to the bullet points of things that you identify? In other words, high risk, medium risk, low risk, or something of that nature. How does that look to a buyer?
So when we put the report in, we'll have it like safety hazard and recommendations and maintenance or further evaluation, stuff like that. And then we'll have them color coded. Now, in some instances, people want more explanations, so they just call us and ask us, what do we think about this? So then we'll explain it so they can get kind of a better understanding. Or, you'll have a contractor that looks at the report and says, hey, I looked at it and I think this, and this should be done. And sometimes, me working on houses in the past, I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a correct fix for that, and I think that'd be okay.
Cool. First of all, how much does it cost for a home inspection?
I mean, the national average is anywhere from $350 to $450. That's your standard,
Does it depend on the size of the house?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So you have we have a house that we're going to inspect today later on. It's like 6,000 or so square foot, and that'll range anywhere from, $600 to $1,000 depending on what components are added or what extra testing they want and stuff like that. But your normal average everyday 2,000 square foot house is going to run anywhere, depending on the inspector, it'll run anywhere from $350 to $500 for that inspection.
And for all the listeners out there that haven't done a real estate transaction in a while, being a buyer, or maybe you're a first-time home buyer, you typically have, 5 to 10 days once the contract is executed to get a home inspection in which the opportunity to have some potential items fixed is going to be allowed to be submitted to a seller. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, that's correct. And then, of course, in COVID times, you'd have 1 to 3 days.
Yeah.
And then now it's kind of bumping out to 7 to 14 days.
Okay.
And usually that's to do your inspection and then figure out what's wrong and do your due diligence. And usually after that time passes, you're either agreed upon or you're not. And you move on with the transaction.
And so what we try to do as a lender is we always try to make sure that if a home inspection is being done, that we get your okay as a borrower to proceed with ordering the appraisal, because we don't want to spend your money if you are getting hung up in the home inspection aspect of things. So that's always good to know. All right. So we want to do a little break-off segment here. These are crazy situations that you've seen during a home inspection. And so I like to term this, there I fixed it, because you've seen some of those memes on the internet that have come from probably various inspections of homes across the country. But now we're firsthand with a home inspector who you've seen many homes in the last 10 years. Give us a couple, 3 that come off the top of your head that you've seen as you've been perusing through a home and taking pictures of whether something is safe or not safe. And maybe that homeowner has thought it's safe and it's really not.
Yeah, well, I would say one that comes on the top of my head to begin with is having a water heater, and they have a leak coming from the water line going into the wall, but it's copper piping. So what they did is they used about a half roll of duct tape to cover the hole. And when we're there, it's literally leaking. And I'm like, how do you fix it like that?
That's a good one. All right. And what about another one?
I would say there's been a few times where there was an outlet. It was in a living room. The outlet was plugged in. An actual extension cord came through the floor and was plugged in to an outlet and then ran underneath the house and then was plugged into a sump pump instead of them just putting an outlet in the crawl space with the sump pump.
Have you seen any where where the electrical boxes themselves have had jumpers to them or things where it looks like they've daisy chained wires, so to speak, if that's a terminology that people are still using, or if they've got the things plugged in to a double power strip where one power strip is full and then that piggybacks into plugging another power strip in. Have you ever seen that one?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I've seen
that's a good one. So now you got like 12 things plugged into one outlet because it's been.
Yeah, it's not the most ideal situation for the house to overheat and catch fire.
Have you seen electrical hotspots that have, like on a wall or,
well,
something
yeah.
like that?
So I've had it to where they would have a switch incorrectly tied into the electrical, and you touch it, and I could feel it to where if you lick your finger and you touch it, it would sizzle. That's how hot it was. So it's like literally, any day that house could just burn the whole house down.
Burn the whole house down. What about plumbing? Plumbing seems to be a popular one sometimes where people have had trouble fixing their toilets or showers or things of that nature. Anything funny there?
Well, I've had it one time to where it was an old house, 1900s, and they put a bathroom in there. But then when you would flush the bathroom or flush the toilet, water would come out of the sink and out of the bathtub at the same time. So somewhere along the line, it wasn't actually draining or getting a vent properly. It was just backing right back up into it.
That's a problem. That's a problem, especially that probably didn't smell too fresh in there either.
Well, they haven't used it, so we were okay there. If not, it would have smelled like sewer the whole time.
Yeah. What about critters?
I would say, so we had a house one time, this kind of like ended the sale, because I went into the crawl space and there was multiple, maybe 40 or 50 snake skins just hanging from the floor joist of... the snakes don't bother me because I like to catch them, but of course, if you're crawling and it's right here, in the floor joist, near your head, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But that kind of killed the deal for the guy. I didn't find the snake, but you can tell with that many snake skins, it's probably the same or 2 or 3 different snakes, but they're just in there to take care of those mice. But it did kind of sour the deal and that kind of went to its normal thing.
Yeah. So crawl spaces are probably a big thing with water.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I have a good story about that.
Yeah.
This is a whole different story. Let's preface this as, hey, just so you know, the buyer looked in the crawl space and said, hey, there's water in the crawl space. I'm like, okay, it's fine. I've seen water, crawled through it, whatever. We're doing the inspection, and I'll go in the crawl space last. And so I'm like, okay, it's 3 or 4 inches of water through the entire
and
crawl.
It hadn't rained in probably 3 damn days.
It's
as we say in the country song.
So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to put my suit on. I'm going to man up. We're J&J Home Inspections. We're going in.
Yeah.
Some people wouldn't go in. So I go in there and it sinks down 6 to 8 inches of water. And I go around, I go as far as I can in certain areas and this, that, and the other. But then I see a electrical wire hang down. And I knew that was kind of a safety hazard, so I kind of moved myself back out of the crawl space. But come to find out, it was not water coming in. It was sewage.
And you smelled that right away.
I didn't really think about it. I thought I was trying to find the water source, and I was looking to see if around the foundation, and come to find out, it was just, shit water. So needless to say.
What was the problem?
The cast iron piping had holes in it.
The main line,
yeah,
the main line coming out,
and it was just staying in there.
The sewer line was busted, or
so every time they're flushing the toilet, it's not going to the street, just coming back out of the house.
It seems like you'd just be able to smell that in your home. It'd be awful.
I don't know. That's why I'm so glad I can hear good, smell good, and see good, because then I can see everything when I'm in the house. But sometimes people are oblivious and they don't.
My mom can't smell very good, so she won't use her gas fireplace.
Yeah.
Because she couldn't tell if it's on or off.
Yeah.
And so if there's just gas going, she wouldn't be able to know.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
So she just doesn't use it.
I wouldn't.
So on that note, what is the craziest thing you've seen in a crawl space?
So craziest thing I've ever seen in a crawl space, we're going in, and it's in a rural area. There's no one around. House is vacant. No one's there. I go into the crawl space, and first thing I notice, there's a bed on the ground, and then there's a curtain that's drawn next to it. But here's the kicker: we have a chair to the side, and you have folded clothes.
Oh,
and then towards the other part of the corner, you have. It's almost like they set it up. Someone's living there, guarantee you. Someone's living there, no doubt about it. But then you have a little bit of food and your water jugs to the side. And so I did my job, got in there, looked around, and got out as fast as possible because I don't know if someone's living there or they're waiting for me to get murdered right out the crawl space or what's going to happen. But it was just very, you could feel it. You could feel the
squatter.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Definitely a squatter.
I mean, you could feel the energy on my back. And I was just like, got to get in, do my job, whatever. But it was just so interesting how everything was set up because it was perfectly set up like they were living.
Set up. Wow. Wow. But it
was on, how a crawl space has a plastic vapor barrier on the ground. This was mud. This was dirt. There's no plastic. So they're just literally laying on their mattress on
mud,
the ground.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's good stuff, my man. So how does somebody get a hold of you if they want to get a home inspection done on the next purchase of their home? How do they get a hold of you, Johnny?
Well, they can call us 615-915-8480. They can also email us jnjhomeinspections@gmail.com.
Very good.
They can also, we have Instagram page and Facebook page. It's J&J Home Inspections. They can DM us there. We're very fast. We answer phones 24/7.
So if you DM them or give them a call, if you just have a general question, right? Just on, hey, what should I do next, or how should I approach this, or maybe they want another reinspection or a second opinion, right?
Yeah, we'll also have like agents that are like showing properties for houses for clients, and they'll take a picture of a serial number on a water heater or an HVAC just to ask me an age, and I'll just shoot it back to them. That way, they have a little bit of knowledge before they go in and put their offer in on the house.
Well, good deal. Well, thank you for coming on the show today. It's been great. It's been fun. This is James Harper, the Real Estate Halftime Show. Like, subscribe. We're on YouTube and also on Instagram. So like and share and comment. If you have any suggestions about the show, of who you would like to see on the show or be a part of the show, we'll address it. We'll be a part of it. We want to have everyone be more knowledgeable about real estate in Nashville. Thanks for joining us today on the Real Estate Halftime Show. Until next time, see you later.